What's going on, people? It's your boy Nando, part of the Pound for Pound Boxing Show in association with Dirty South Boxing. Head over to www.dirtysouthboxing.co.uk for the best boxing gear out there. You won't be disappointed. Guys, very special guest today. She's going to be challenging Katie Taylor for the undisputed lightweight titles on May the 1st on the Chisora Parker undercard live on Sky Sports Box Office. It's Natasha Jonas. Can't wait for this interview. She's coming on right now. We've got a lot to talk about. Big opportunity, the Olympic 2012 rematch between Katie Taylor and Natasha Jonas. We spoke to Natasha last year, just after the fight with Terry Harper. I asked her about this fight. She said she would definitely be up for it, but we never knew it would be her next fight. We never knew that. So here we are. It's been a frustrating year for Natasha, and she gets her opportunity to become the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. So we're just waiting for Natasha right now. Just remember, guys, this fight, this interview is in association with Dirty South Boxing. Head over to this website, www.dirtysouthboxing.co.uk. You won't be disappointed, guys. I promise you. Custom gyms, customized clothing, shoes, gloves. You need to check out the DS Pro Mexican gloves. Amazing. Amazing. We're just waiting for Natasha now. She's going to come on. Just a reminder. Amazing card here. Derek Chisora, Joseph Parker. I think Natasha's coming on now.
Woo.
How you doing, Natasha?
To charge me laptop. I'm all right, thanks.
How's things?
It's good. Everything's all right.
Just want to say thank you for taking your time to speak to me today. It's crazy to think the last time we spoke was October, and now we're already in April 2021. How time flies.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
How's training? How's camp?
It's going really well. We're just getting a bit more sparring specific now. Obviously the weight's down, you know, and the fitness is getting better. So yeah, just the tweaking bits now.
So this fight was rumored for a while. Obviously, Eddie Hearn hinted it a few times on a few channels. There was a few articles about it online. When the fight got presented to you, did you believe that they can get it over the line and get it done in time for May the 1st?
There was no particular fight date at the start when they said it. They just said, "Do you want it?" And to be honest, I'll be dead honest, and people on social media will think I was lying. Someone had tagged me in a post from the Irish press saying we've heard a rumor that Tasha's Taylor's next opponent, and I was like, "Oh, that's news to me." And I was being deadly honest, and it wasn't until about a week after that I'd even got a phone call from Tom to say that our Matchroom had been on. Would you take the Taylor fight? And I was like, yeah, of course I would. And then he's like, wait, oh, all right, I'll phone you back. And then he come back to me about a day later and was like, we can get you the Taylor fight. I was like, well, go ahead. And then obviously it takes a while to sort out the particulars and whatever. But you never know in boxing until it's actually signed, sealed, delivered, and announced, because there's no real obligation, and contracts don't they do mean something, but they don't. So once it was announced, then I was thinking, right, okay, now they've got a bit of obligation to make sure the fight goes ahead. So then I was happy. But before that, like in boxing, I mean, you know, people say what they want all the time. I was promised a rematch last time, and that didn't happen either. So until it's there and it's out, and it's, you know, you never know in boxing.
Sum up your feeling when it finally got announced.
A bit of everything: relief, excitement, and yeah, just yeah, them two mainly.
It's been a frustrating few months for you, because obviously after the Harper fight, everyone wanted this rematch. We heard when I spoke to you last, I think it was October, you told me that you got offered Heather Hardy the money wasn't enough. I even interviewed Heather. She said the same thing. Since then, I think you mentioned maybe there was a chance of Hamaduchi as well. Maybe I spoke to Joe. I think it was December, just before Callum's fight with Canelo. He said, "Well, she'll be up for the Hamaduchi fight." But was anyone else offered to you before this Katie Taylor fight recently? Was there any names? Choi, Mayer,
No,
anyone?
no. Basically, the first matchroom offer was a 3-fight deal. The first one was Heather Hardy or someone of a like caliber. The second was Choi or Hamadouche, and then the third was going to be Harper. So I was never fighting Harper next. She was always 3 fights a year down the line, and we couldn't agree on the final fight for the figure for the Harper, which meant that all the fights were off. Um, since then, they were like, okay, we'll revisit it in the new year. This is Matchroom I'm talking about. And when we went back to them, they was like, oh, because of the way COVID is, we're not sure. We're struggling to get our actual contracted boxes out, so that deal's not still there. But we were like, well, we'll come up with something. So we were like, okay. And I kind of thought, well, I'd spoken to Tom, and he was like, right, we can get you on some of our shows. So I was like resigned to, I was going to do that and maybe put myself in a mandatory position, and then would fight Harper. But they came back and said, well, would you take this one? Of course. I've like, never turned down a challenge yet.
Amazing. I put up the video that you liked it. I think it was last month, where me and you spoke back in October, and I mentioned, would you take the Katie Taylor fight if it was offered to you? I remember your eyes lit up, and you was like, "Of course I would. I want that rematch." Who would have thought that 5-6 months down the line, maybe more, we're here now, and she's your next opponent. Would you say that this is the biggest female British fight in history?
But it's an Irish, yeah. I think I think there's only really at this very moment in time, there's only a couple of fights that potentially could surpass that, and that would be Savannah and Clarissa,
Yeah,
um, and maybe McCaskill and Cameron.
yeah,
Um, but I don't think there's any other huge women's fight, especially for British people. Maybe Courtney and Bridges rematch. Um, but sorry, Shannon Courtney and the Ball rematch. Sorry. Um, but yeah, I just think I kicked up enough fuss and put it out there to the universe, and it came back, which is exactly what I wanted. And I'm not going to moan. I'm not going to turn it down. I think once again that matchroom think that they're feeding me to the lions like they did with the Harper, but once again I will prove them all wrong. So
is it a little bit frustrating that you didn't get to have at least another fight before this, or for you it makes no difference how long you've been out of the ring?
I mean, everyone would like to be active, but I think I proved I was out the ring for nearly a year before Harper, so I think I've proved that it doesn't really matter. Like as long as you're putting in the work and you're doing what you need to, and I'm never fully 100% out of the gym. I always tick over kind of thing, so it's not like I'm starting from not punching at all. Like when I retired and it came back, it's like you're just refreshing, and you're getting fitter and you're losing weight, and obviously, like I said, as the fight gets closer, you go down to a bit more fight specific stuff.
So let's talk about your opponent, Katie Taylor. Obviously undefeated, 17-0. There's always a debate between boxing fans who is the women's pound for pound number one. Is it Katie Taylor? Is it Clarissa Shields? But she is one of the greatest women's fighters of all time. What makes Natasha Jonas different from those other 17 opponents?
That's a good question. I just think I, I just think I am mentally and physically a different puzzle that she has to put together. And yeah, that's all I can say really. I'm not, I'm not trying to put myself on a higher pedestal than anyone, but I will say that she is only human. I think we have this, like, there's like a certain aura and a certain, I don't know what to call it, around Katie, that she's invincible, and I don't think that's 100% true. I mean, God, everything that she's done, you can't deny. But I think especially Pursuan's fights have showed that she isn't um, indestructible.
Do you believe
Um,
it's that same aura that they give to Canelo, where he's unbeatable, where you know, where realistically they're both just human, and there are opponents out there that can trouble them and can um can give them problems. Because in the past with Canelo, we've seen people give him trouble. Lara, obviously, a younger version of himself against Floyd, the first Triple G fight. But with Katie, we saw a little bit of that weakness when she's usually the aggressor coming forward, but Delphine Persoon, the first fight, was the aggressor, came forward, put her on the back foot, put pressure on her. Do you believe that that's one of her weaknesses, being put when she has an opponent that comes more forward and is the aggressor?
I mean, potentially, but I think styles make fights, and I wouldn't go in trying to be Delphine Pursuan, because that's not my style, and I don't think that works for everybody. And I think Katie's a lot. Her boxing IQ's it's up there with the best of them. But yeah, like you said, I think there's certain boxers that we do have this thing about, and you know like everyone has a weakness regardless of who you are, and we have seen it in others. We had the same thing about Lomachenko, and that happened with Lopez. So nobody, it's one of them sports where literally anything can happen. A punch changes everything, and you know that's just the way it is in boxing.
Not giving too much away, obviously not giving away your game plan, but do you have to approach this fight different to the Harper fight?
Definitely physically, and skill wise, but mentally, no, I'll be in exactly the same place. I was flying mentally, and I think, yeah, me body. I keep saying this, but my body can do anything when my mind's with it. You just got to keep your mind right, and that's the hard part. I'm not the best boxer, but I'm the one that can keep on picking myself up, and the most resilient, and keep on going at it even when things haven't gone right. And that separates average Joe to the elite.
Is it a little bit disappointing for you that obviously the Terry Harper one didn't have fans, but this one is a huge fight that the fans have been waiting for a long time? Is it a little bit disappointing that there's no fans?
Yeah, I think it deserves fans, but like you know, I can only control what I can control. I can't control that, so it is what it is, and we have to just do what we have to do. And I think once the bell goes, it won't make a difference whether there's fan or there or not, because you don't hear anything. But yeah, I do think it deserves fans. Maybe we can have fans at the rematch when I win them. So
Amazing. Not stepping on anyone's toes, but for once, the fans didn't complain to Eddie Hearn about this being a pay-per-view, because the whole card is amazing. From your fight to Craig Richards and Bivol, to the return of Chris Eubank Jr. And I know we're going to have more fights on the undercard that's just going to be amazing. And I think it's already worth, just your fight with Katie is worth the money for box office. The issue that the fans had, and I just want your opinion on it. Do you believe that this should have been the main event? Because they had an issue with Chisora Parker being the main event, and this is like a huge fight. This is a huge fight that should have been the headline.
I think it shows how far women's boxing's come, and how the fans respect the entertainment, and it at its best. Um, so yeah, it was good to see that was the only like half negative thing that I seen, is why isn't it top of the bill? And I think you know maybe it will get changed. I haven't heard that it's going to be, and to be honest, again, that's one of them things I just can't control. So I don't even worry myself about it. As long as it's on and it's happening, I don't really care where I am. I could be first on. But it's nice to see that the growth and the reception that we've got from everybody within the sport who now believes it's not about female boxing and male boxing. It's just about who's the best boxer, what's the best titles, and who should be where. And that's a huge step, because well, I say we, but collectively, as women, we've been saying, like, if you do it right, we will be on par. It's kind of you not doing your job right that's making it different. But if we're on the same shows, we're on the big bills, and we're promoted the same way as some of the up and comers or some of the men do, then the people will accept it as at its best, because it's just as good. And now that's just a clear example of that.
100%. Sticking on women's boxing, obviously, Everlast came out and said we want to pump more money into boxing, and we want to sponsor 52. I think it was 52 fighters. They said 52
Yeah.
or 50. And obviously, you and Chantelle were two of the 52. How great is that? Not just for boxing and British boxing, but how great is that for women's boxing itself, that they've done this?
There was three. There was me, Chantelle, and Sandy Ryan,
Sandy Ryan, yeah.
who's just turned over from the GB squad. And I think, again, it's one of them things. I've been very vocal about, big companies supporting not only boxing, because I think boxing as a whole is underrepresented. But female boxing, again, is another slice out of that's underrepresented. And big brands can use their media pull power, can use their finances to support and help the sport grow. And I've been very vocal in that. So the fact that somebody's listened is huge, and they've made that pledge. I'm not saying that's off the back of me or whatever, but that's the commitment they've made. And hopefully now there's other big companies that will follow, because it is huge. And the sport of boxing, it's one of the biggest in the world.
I think you should all be proud of yourselves as women in boxing. I think it came from all of you, because all of you voiced your opinions on this. The Heather Hardys, Natasha Jonases, the Chantelle Camerons, and I'm sure there's others out there. So it's finally they finally opened their ears and did this, but not just for women's boxing, just boxing in general. And I agree with, and I echo what you said before. I don't think boxing gets the recognition it deserves, because it's one of the biggest sports in the world. It generates one of the most sums of money in sport, draws the biggest crowds, along with it can compete with football. It can compete with the NFLs and the basketballs and the NBAs and that. So I echo what you say, and I think you should all be proud of yourselves what you achieved with Everlast.
Yeah, and I just think together as a collective, there's a lot more that we could do to make it easier for the women that come behind us. It might not happen in our boxing careers, but it should definitely happen for the ones coming behind us. And that's what it's all about. It's like, obviously you want to if Jane Couch will be looking back at us and thinking, oh yeah, I've paved the way for you. And even though some issues are still the same, a lot has improved, because it has. But that's the way it should be. You should never just be standing still in sport. There should be a progression. There should be a positive forward movement. And I think the more that stands up and say it, and I don't blame people for not, because you kind of don't want to bite the hand that feeds you either. So people sometimes are in a position where they don't feel that they can, because they are they're in fear of retribution, I suppose. So, but that needs to stop, and we need to move forward, and we need to do it, if not for us in our career times, for the ones that's coming after.
No, I totally agree. Let me ask you, obviously experience comes into this as well, and obviously the Olympics is completely different from the pro games. What can we expect different from this fight compared to you and Katie's fight 9 years ago?
I think, amateur, especially then as well, you was point scoring, and once you're a couple of points behind, it was hard within 4 rounds to catch up. Now it's just win the round. So you lose the first round, you've got another 9 to catch it up. So you're not under that kind of, no one wants to lose a round, don't get me wrong, but you're not under that kind of pressure if you do. I think, power shots, and, it didn't really benefit you as an amateur because one knockdown just meant 1 point. That was it. Obviously in pros, it means you win a 10-8 round. So you've got, a lot longer endurance, and, your skills are on show for a lot longer. So all them things, I think, make it a different fight.
This next question, before I ask it, anyone watching, I want to make it clear that I'm not taking sides, because when I interviewed you in October and I asked you this question, I got a bit of a, let's say, bollocking, that people took it as if like I was taking your side, but I was sitting on the fence. I was more echoing what pundits on Sky Sports, what other boxers and ex-boxers and the fans online were saying. So I just want to make it clear that I'm just echoing that. People believed that you won the fight against Terry Harper, that the judges robbed you. That's just opinions from fans. Seeing as recently we've had some poor judging, not just on the matchroom events and everywhere, do you believe that you can't leave it to the judges against Katie Taylor and you have to stop her?
I believe that if I got another chance like round 8 in the Harper, that it wouldn't go amiss. That's what I do believe. It's all good me saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna knock it out, I'm gonna knock it out. But the reality is, like, it may not happen. So you've got to, you definitely have to win the rounds, and you definitely have to win them clearly. But I will say that if I ever got that opportunity again, that it would be stopped. It wouldn't continue.
A good friend of yours, who I'm interviewing next week, Chantelle Cameron, she had an interview with IFL TV. First of all, she said she hopes you put Katie on her ass in the interview. And
Very diplomatic.
I asked you. She doesn't hide her feelings towards Katie Taylor. I give her that. I asked you this question back in October, and I said, "Would you ever welcome a fight with Chantelle Cameron?" You said, "I couldn't see that because of the friendship, sparring with her." But she came into the mix with the whole Katie Taylor thing recently, and has always called her out. She came out, not called you out, didn't say anything bad. I don't know if you saw the interview. She said that I would welcome the winner of this fight. Would you welcome the fight with Chantelle Cameron beating Katie Taylor, defending your undisputed lightweight titles against her?
I mean, I think it'd be tough, but again, you kind of have to take your opportunities and whatever presents itself. I will give Chantelle a due. I think that I can think of, there's only so many people that have been calling Katie out. One was McCaskill, and when I got the opportunity, she was fighting, having the rematch with Brockhouse. 2, Clarissa. Obviously, she's a lot heavier, and it'll take her a while to get down. And she already had a fight by the time I got my opportunity. Chantelle was another. She was injured and had to pull out of her own fight. And then the only other person I know is Serrano. So I would welcome any of them saying, I want the winner of that rematch, because the winner of that fight, because they was asking for that before. Anybody else, when I've got these titles, comes on any social media and talking, I can already half see it. I don't want to hear from you because you weren't asking for me before, and there's a reason for that, and I was dangerous, and I didn't have anything to do with it. But I don't want to hear from anyone else. The only ones that I want to hear calling me out are them 4 people that I've just named.
Obviously, not looking, obviously your focus is only on Katie. You can't look past Katie. Who calls you out? Who could you fight next? One question is, regardless of what happens, could you ever see yourself going just one division higher than lightweight, or is this the maximum you want to go? Because there are some good fights in the
Yeah,
next division.
I think again, like I keep saying it, but you just have to take your opportunities as they come in, but and especially in boxing, I'm getting towards the latter end of, let's say, of my career, where I am a little bit older. I'm not a Terry Harper. I haven't got forever to fight, forever to be the best and to be number one undisputed pound for pound greatest. So whatever opportunities present themselves, I will always take. You know, what's the worst that could happen? You lose, and what? You're back. You're back onto the next one. It doesn't matter. You've got to take your opportunities because your career in sport is so short, and there's greatness at the end of it as long as you put in the work. So it's a win-win situation.
I think it's safe to say that no matter what age you are the one that always shows that you look like the younger one, the younger one in the ring. It's like it's unbelievable, especially against Terry Harper. It's nothing against Terry, but it's like you was the younger fighter in that fight. So it just shows that age is just a number if you work hard and train hard as well. Eventually, a certain age will take its toll, but the moment you're proving that hard work and training hard, you can achieve anything.
Yeah, I had a lot to prove for the Harper. People were saying I was too old, I was past it, I couldn't make the weight, I couldn't do 10 rounds. So I used that as motivation because like I wanted to prove a lot of people wrong, but also a lot of people right. And like I said before, my body can do anything as long as your mind's with it. So, and that's a theme that I'll be carrying on into this fight and beyond, because it's something, even as long as a career as I've had, I'm still learning mentally, physically about myself, and I used that first lockdown to do that, and I think you know you should develop. If you come out of lockdowns and you haven't developed yourself for the better in some sort of way, then you haven't been using the time. Like, I don't want to say correct, but you know what I mean. You haven't been using it right.
No, I echo what you said. Using the fuel of people's opinions and criticism. Me and my colleague Jermaine have done the same with this channel. A lot of people doubted us, said you can't do a channel, and look at us now. We're talking to potentially the next undisputed lightweight champion of the world, and here we are. So,
The
it's good.
next, and when I win it, I'll be back.
As long as you bring the belts on camera, I'll be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a quick question about Chantelle. She's obviously coming back from an injury, and she has to fight her mandatory. What fight would you like to see her in? Is it the McCaskill fight?
I think for me, the McCaskill fight's a really good fight, and um, yeah, I think maybe Serrano as well, but I think the McCaskill fight is a big fight, and I think that's one. You know, when when you see this, when we say styles make fights, the gelling of them two, the come forward aggressiveness of both of them makes for
Yeah,
a really good fight, and I think, yeah, I think. I don't know why it hasn't already been put on the table, to be honest. But once they obviously McCaskill's just one hairs out again, and Chantel's got the mandatory after that. It's something that I, as a boxing fan and as a friend, would like to see Chantelle in.
100%. I think there's a lot of great fights out there for Chantelle, whether it's McCaskill, Serrano. You got even the likes of Mary McGee. You got Christina Linardo. You got Kaylee Ray as well. There are so many great fights for her out there, but the McCaskill one, I think you're right. Styles make fights, and that fight will be huge, and that one as well deserves a crowd as well.
Yeah, And I think, all the other people you've just named, like it's it's the titles. Like Chantelle will be wanting to chase the titles, and that's why um the McCaskill one is huge, because it's all the titles.
Yeah,
Um, you kind of don't want to risk, and it's bad, but you don't want to risk, because I'm in that situation now where I think people see me as a big risk for not much reward. So I don't know why you would want to maybe risk it with the others for not much reward, but McCaskill, that's a different thing. That's a massive reward. So obviously that's where I'd be wanting to go, and that's where I'd be, pushing my management team and me promoter to say, like, that's the one I want. And they're both matchroom fighters, so there's no reason why it can't happen.
100%. Is there a reason why the fight with you and Katie? Obviously, it's been 9 years since the Olympic fight. Is there a reason why it's taken 9 years for this rematch to happen, in your
God,
opinion?
babies, change of sports, a loss to open off everything. I think there's a like a mixture of loads of things that have, put me off track, derailed me, and put me back. So yeah, it's just life. I think that's all I can say.
How's the atmosphere in camp with Joe at the moment and the others? Obviously, we've got Callum Johnson, who just signed with Queensbury. I know Liam has gone to Russia. You got Callum going to light heavyweight. What's the atmosphere like at the moment for your fight? Because obviously, I spoke to Joe at the time when Callum was going to fight Canelo, and he said the atmosphere in the camp was great. But what's the atmosphere for this fight at the moment?
Well, there's myself, there's Marcus, and there's Callum that have
Yeah.
all got dates. And there's maybe one or two of the others that have got potential dates in mind, but not set in stone yet. So, when people have a date, that's when the gym's flying, because, when you're tired and you're getting dragged through sessions, and it gets to that last like minute or whatever, and you're like, come on, let's do another one, let's do another round, let's do another round, and everyone just pulls each other through, and that's the, like, camaraderie within the gym. And yeah, it's great to be a part of, and like I say, there's sparring all the time at the minute. So you're watching things, and you see things, and you pick up and you think, oh, I'll try that, and you'll do it. It might not work. If it works, it's great. You'll think, right, I've got that punch for my own repertoire now. And if it doesn't, you're just like, okay, didn't work for me. I'll do another one. I'll try it again if it doesn't work. But you see things, and you pick things up of every different people. Like, the close in fighting is probably something I got from Liam. There's certain shot selections that I think I get from Callum. There's little tricky things that Paul Butler does with his feet that, I kind of try and use. And you'll pick something up. Ophie's got a good jab. Marcus has got a good lean back and throw. Callum's got good hooks. So there's something that you'll pick up off everybody, and you like I say, you just try them and work out what works for you and what doesn't.
How's sparring with Amy Timlin going at the moment? Have you been sparring her recently? I know you sparred her before. Is she back in the gym with you guys?
No, I haven't. Not since she had to pull out of her last fight. So she hasn't been back up yet as of yet. But I've been sparring Rihanna Dixon, Tanya as well. Who obviously is Scott Quiggs and Crawlers, female fighters. So they've been coming to the gym. We get our spar days on a Friday. But yeah, I've been sparring some other people as well. More, poor Tanya doesn't know what to do. She hasn't sparred an orthodox person for a good few months now.
Amazing. Two more questions. This question I ask everyone, all my guests, because we're gonna do a kind of like highlight reel. If the fight happens, the biggest fight in heavyweight history, you got Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Natasha, who wins and why?
It's so hard, because they are two of our best fighters in their prime, and you have to pick a side. And for me, it's Josh. How? I don't know. I don't think he can knock him out. Because if Wilder can't, I don't see how how Josh can. Maybe he can overwhelm him because he is fast and he's got a good punch repertoire. But then Tyson just knows how to win a round, and he's so unorthodox that but it works for him. So I, I don't know. I do think Josh, but I just don't know how that happens.
Out of I would say, I'm just making up a number, but it is around this number, around 25, nearly to 30 people we have interviewed. You are only the second person to say Anthony Joshua. Like, it's like no one's given the guy a slight chance, but for me, it's a 50-50 fight.
It's 100% a 50-50 fight. I mean, anybody who sees it otherwise is a bit crazy. Like, how is it not? Even Fury Wilder was a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
Like, any fight at that weight, with people like that, with records like that, with history like that, is a 50-50 fight. Like, I don't care what anyone says, it is. Whether you believe one person's more favorable to win, that's like on you, but it's definitely a 50-50 fight.
100%. I think people saw Tyson basically school Wilder in the second fight. They just think that he can do that against Joshua, but that, like you said, styles make fights, and Anthony Joshua is a completely different fighter from Deontay Wilder. First of all, he can box. Yeah. That's no disrespect to Deontay. He can box. He can hit. He can move faster. He's more experienced. Got that Olympic pedigree as well. That Olympic experience. So it's going to be a great fight. I just hope it gets made because it's something that the fans want. It's as simple as that. Need to see
and to be fair, I think Josh in his last two or three fights since the Ruiz has showed things that he hasn't shown before, and he has shown that he's come on and learned a few things, like the patience, the calculation, that calculated, like it's crazy. It's crazy that people aren't giving him like the what he deserves. Like I think he's shown a lot more of an overall boxer that you'd need to, because you would need to be patient with Fury, because like I said, he doesn't do anything textbook. There's nothing in his thing that you say, like, you'd sit a kid down and say, like, do that, because there's nothing that he does that's technically that great. But I think, like, as the fights are going on, Josh is showing things that he would need for that fight, and I think that's why he's doing it, to be fair as well.
100%. Natasha, before I let you go, any messages for the fans for May the 1st?
Tune in. You're about to see something great. That's it.
That was my next question. What can we expect on May the 1st?
Oh, yeah. You can expect fireworks. You can expect me bringing the best version of me, and also obviously Katie bringing the version of her, and may the best woman win.
100%. Natasha, I wish you the best of luck on May the 1st. You and Katie, I have to sit on the fence on this one, so I wish you both the best of luck on May the 1st. For me, I can see it being fight of the night, probably potentially fight of the year. And we can't wait. As boxing fans, we cannot wait. And thank you to Eddie Hearn and everyone that's made this fight possible, because it's something that we've been waiting for a long time as fans.
And we as fighters.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Stay and good luck.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care.
See you soon.